All right, is everyone able to hear me right now? Wave at the camera if you can hear me.
Come on in, please.
I see Spot May there. Hello, everybody. We're about to go under the water. Are you excited? Awesome. Good to see you guys. It's a beautiful day out here on the east end of Little Cayman, or west end of Little Cayman, and scenes are beautiful. Bryce is just getting all of his gear on, and we're going to take you down to see all of the fish. There's thousands of them down there waiting to say hi.
Looks like a draft classroom or a prep classroom.
Rule, are you guys able to see me and hear me?
All right, we're trying this. We can get some sound going.
Enough sound is
Let's observe until we see this photo.
All right. So in just 1 second here, I'm going to turn the camera over to Bryce, who is going to walk you around the boat and introduce you to people that are here working on the Grouper Moon project. So here we go. We're going now.
Why are we not hearing?
long and short of it is, it routes all sound to the smartboard, but the smartboard doesn't have speakers.
So we
All right, guys, so as you can see, some of the divers are there getting ready.
The smartboard still has control even after.
Someone's just jumping in there. That's Brian. He's one of the researchers working on the project.
It won't reroute it no matter what.
I see Paul's class has just joined us. Welcome, Paul. Everybody can hear me? Is that coming through in terms of sound? Be a little bit louder. Okay. I'm going to try and be as loud as possible. Can you guys hear me out there? Looks like it. Okay, great. I'm going to stand over here so you can see me. I'm Bryce Simmons. I'm a researcher here with the Grouper Moon project. And there are thousands of fish directly under this boat right now. So, a little bit, Dr. Christy Simmons and I are going to jump into the water, and we're going to take you down on a dive, and we're going to show you some of those fish. This is our Seakeep. We've been coming out here and diving on this vessel the last week. We've got several crews and members of the team that help from the environment. We've got Keith, and Robert, and Ivan, and they've been keeping us safe and helping us with research out here. And of course, we're with both the Scripps Institution of Oceanography and the Reef Environmental Education Foundation. All of us are partnering in this project, Grouper Moon. And of course, we're here because the Nassau Grouper are here, and you've been learning about the Nassau Grouper. They come out here in the winter months, January and February, shortly after the full moon, and they get together from tens of kilometers around. They can actually swim hundreds of kilometers during that time, but they all aggregate right here on the very western tip of the shelf edge of the island, and they're here for a couple of weeks. Yeah. Okay, so They're here right now. We saw the last 2 nights we've seen them spawning. We've seen them releasing gametes. So we know that they're making more baby Nassau grouper. And we're going to go down and show you them now. They're getting ready to spawn again tonight. Right now they're just going to be milling around. And hopefully we'll be able to get you up really close to the fish so we can talk about them down there. When I'm down there, I'm going to have a mask on. And I'm going to be talking and telling you about the things that I'm seeing and that we're showing you. But you'll also have an opportunity to ask me questions as well. And hopefully I'll be able to answer some of those for you. So, I think we're ready. I'm going to grab on my gear and we'll get going.
So can you pull the camera up to him and watch him as he gets on?
All right, everyone. Now Bryce is going to get on his full face AGA mask. That's going to allow him to talk to you while he's underwater. And then he's going to dive in and go down to about 90 feet, where you're going to see thousands of really big Nassau grouper who have already begun spawning and will continue to spawn probably tonight as well.
Bradley's on.
Hello.
Hey, you want to watch where you're pointing the camera, pal?
So as you guys can see, he's plugging in his audio there. Bryce is putting on his dive computer.
Yeah, so you guys should be able to hear me now. Can you guys hear me? Okay, excellent. Yeah, so Ivan's helping me here with my dive computer. I've got a bunch of gadgets on me, as you can see. Some of you might be divers. Some of you probably plan to be divers someday. And so you're going to get to go through this process yourself. Now, you're not probably going to have quite so much gear as I have on, at least usually. But you will have something like this, which is a dive computer. It helps me determine how long I can stay down and when I should safely return to the surface. I've also got a tank on my back that gives me air, so I can breathe underwater. And this is my tank monitor. It tells me how much air I've got left. And you'll see me checking this throughout the course of the dive. Okay, I think I've got everything on. Let's stand up, walk to the edge. Thank you. And I just got to get on my fins. Make sure my buddy's ready to go with me. And as you're looking around the deck here, you'll notice that in addition to Dewey, we've got several other researchers out here with us. We've got lots of different research projects going on. Not all of them, in fact, only related to the Nassau grouper. It turns out that this site that we're on, while important for Nassau grouper, is important to a whole suite of species that also come right here in order to reproduce. Some of them come this time of year. Sometimes they come at completely different times of the year. So this site is a very special site where lots of species come to reproduce to make more baby fish for the reef. So it's kind of like a nursery. All right, I'm ready to go. And we can go together. Here goes Christy. All right. Get an okay sign from her. This, by the way, means okay when we're at the surface. Lets the people in the boat know that we are okay. We can also, of course, do that underwater. Just a way of checking on each other. Okay, so I'm going to jump in the water. You can hear me breathing off my tank now. Here I go. I'm going to be okay. Evan, could you hand me that stick, please? That's great. Thank you. All right, folks. We're ready to go. Let's head down. All right, so I'm going to get a bit of current out here. So I'm going to try and swim down fairly rapidly so we can get to the bottom and get to the fish. I'm just going to do a cloud check here. Todd, can you still hear me?
I can hear you just fine, Bryce.
That's great. Okay. All right, so as we're descending, you'll see bubbles coming up next to me. We've already got divers down here doing research. So while I was up there talking to you on the boat, we've got divers down here that are taking video and doing counts of tagged fish. Lots of different projects going on. The site, as Todd said, is about 80 to 90 feet in depth. We don't usually go deeper than about 90 feet. But in the course, the fish sometimes do, and when they do, we can just stay above them and to the side and keep watching them. Alright, okay, so I see the fish. I bet you're starting to see them now too.
Bryce, I just want to let you know that most of the classrooms we have on right now are, well, we've got a high school classroom, and we've got some year 4s. We got a classroom in Seattle on the Brack and on Grand.
Okay. So we got a good mix. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we're just coming up here on the fish. Good, I bet you guys are starting to see them now.
They look amazing, Bryce.
Yeah. Let's see. Alright. Got a little current down here, you guys, so it's hard. It's a little bit of work to swim. That's okay, because the good stuff takes a little bit of work. Alright. So, where is Christy?
We also have a year 8 class on Grand. Just saying hi to all you guys out there. Welcome.
Alright. Okay, folks, so as you can see, we got a lot of fish down here. Some of them are swimming up in the water column. And some of them are resting down
Radio off, please, Anthony.
on the floor.
On.
And a lot of them are just kind of sitting next to each other up in the water. What's really interesting, I think, you guys have seen lots of pictures of Nassau grouper, but they don't normally look like this. They got a completely different color pattern than what you're used to seeing. And that's part of the color pattern that they take on when it's time to reproduce. And we're not sure why exactly they have these different color patterns. They have black and white.
Hey, Bryce, could you motion to Christy to level out her camera? It's kind of sideways.
Yeah. Hold. Here, hold on to it. Okay. Gonna level it out here a little bit. Okay, I just want to show you that. You guys see that?
It looks great, Bryce.
Okay, great. I'm going to turn this camera on me. I'm sorry about the jerkiness of the camera. The current here is pretty strong right now. So it's a little hard to hold the camera steady. But you know what's really cool? When you look at the fish, sure doesn't look like there's a lot of current, does it? These guys are built for swimming. Alright, I'm going to give the camera back to Christy. Oh, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Because right now I have the camera. I'm going to get up close to one of these guys so you can see them up close. We have here, here's a female. There's a big old female that's just lying here on the ground. And if you look next to her, We got another fish that's getting cleaned. See how that fish has got his mouth open?
Bryce, pan down just a little bit.
How about that?
There you go. That's perfect.
Alright, this fish is resting on the bottom, got his mouth and gills open. And let me see if I can find the fish that's cleaning them.
What's going on there, Bryce? Why would they be cleaning them?
Ah, okay, well, fish get parasites. In fact, most animals get parasites, but lots of different species of fish make use of a thing called cleaning stations, where in particular parts of the reef, there are specialized animals, often fish and shrimp, whose role it is to find the parasites on bigger fish and eat them. And both the bigger fish and the cleaners benefit from this. The cleaning animals get a meal, and those parasites can be little arthropods growing on them, or worms, or who knows what yuckiness. But you don't want it on you. Okay, I'm going to give you back the camera. So we're gonna go down into this gully here, see if this helps for current. We're also we're gonna get a little closer to the. I'm stuck. Sorry guys, hold on a second. All right. Oh hey, Christy's showing you something right now. I think there's a tang fish up here. Let's check my. Yeah. See if we can see it. Well. Alright, Christy's showing you more up close now with the aggregation. And you can see there's a lot of fish down here. We're estimating now that there's probably maybe a little over 4,000 fish at this spawning site. And here's a big friendly fish that was going to tag. You guys see her? And we put tags on these fish so that we use the tagging in order for us to be able to estimate how many fish are in this population. So we give them these little tattoos. Only a very, very small proportion of all the fish down here get those.
What's that there, Bryce?
Say that again?
Something just swam by, looks like a shark.
I didn't see it. How big was it? Is it behind me?
Well, it's gone now. It looked like a nurse shark to me.
How about that? Does that look like a shark to you?
Exactly.
Okay. And here's a little caught up there. Take a look at this. See that? So, here's a fish that's got a fishing line stuck in its mouth. Evidence that these guys are being targeted by fishing. That was one of the lucky ones that got away, although some might argue he's not too lucky because he's got that thing stuck in his mouth. Let's see.
Bryce, can you tell us what Leslie's doing there?
Sure can, yeah. That's one of our researchers, Leslie Whalen. And Leslie is using a laser caliper, or lasers, two lasers that are stuck to a camera. And she points those at fish and gets video at the same time. Those lasers are perfectly parallel, meaning that the two red dots that they produce are always exactly the same distance apart. Because of that, we can subsequently look at the video, and if we know the distance between the 2 points, we know exactly how large that fish is. And if we do that to many of the fish in our population, we can get some information about how many new teenagers are showing up in the population. That helps us to get at whether or not the population is recovering.
of course, we need to know that because here in the Caymans, this spawning site is protected. And it's been protected now for almost 11 years. What we're trying to do is monitor how the population is responding to those protections, whether or not those protections are working. And based on the fact that over the last 7 years, the population has more than doubled, it sure looks like that those protections are serving their intended purpose, are in fact letting the population recover.
Bryce, I keep seeing someone with a couple of bright lights behind you. Can you explain what's going on there?
Yeah. Well, out here we've got a couple of lots of different researchers doing lots of different things. Some of our researchers are taking video, actually using their video to try to video the entire population by swimming past all the fish. So we can subsequently take that video into the lab, and we can count all of the fish on that video. And so it's very useful to have video documentation of the fish that are down here.
So, Bryce, I'm going to take some questions. How's that sound?
That sounds great, Todd.
All right, so everyone, if you have a question, what I'd like you to do is let me know on the chat box, and then unmute and then I'll let you know when to unmute yourself, and you can ask your question. Okay, how about class? Can we get the question from
Just showing you it up close there.
your microphone?
There's a big female being chased by a male. The big black one, there's a female.
Okay, while we're waiting for Paul to unmute, Brenda's question is, do you know about how many groupers there are now?
Yeah. And the question is, how many groupers are there now? Well, in terms of the tagging we're doing, based on all of that work, this year there's approximately 4,000, maybe 4,100 fish, so a little over 4,000. You're just seeing the very tail end of this aggregation. If we swam 200 yards that way, these fish would keep going and going and going. A very, very large number of fish compared to what it was a little over 6 or 7 years ago. Certainly more than it was when the population was still being fished back in 2003 and 4.
Okay, and from the year 8 on Brand, the question is, what is the biggest grouper you have seen?
Well, the biggest grouper I've ever seen of any species is the Goliath grouper. It used to be called the Jewfish. Those guys can get to be 700 or 800 pounds. So really, really big. The biggest Nassau grouper I've ever seen was probably about maybe 40 pounds, 30 pounds. And so, a very... And you're looking at this footage here. Some of the fish here are some of the largest fish, largest individuals of this species anywhere in the world. And they're right here, in large part because this is, as far as we know, the largest population of the species left anywhere in the Caribbean. And the Cayman Islands has that. So this is a cleaning station right here. You can see him. Just showing you a cleaning station. You can see how he's got his mouth open and his gills flared. He's letting the fish go inside. This guy's also here. Oh, yes. Oh, you can see the fish on his face. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, cool. I'm going to see if I can get... I just think it's cool.
So yes, Paul, why don't you ask a student up to ask a question? I'm going to turn it over to you. So Paul's class, someone's going to come up here and ask a question.
Did it hurt them?
You're going to have to speak up with people and get as close to the microphone as you can.
Does it hurt them?
Sorry, can you guys turn the volume up on your microphone? While you're sorting that out, we have a question from Spot A. And the question is, how can you distinguish between male and female groupers?
Great question. You know, it's actually not easy at all. Most of the year, you can't. They look identical. And in fact, even if you were looking at the chemicals in their blood that you and I have that distinguish us between male and female, most of the year, they don't have them. So it's impossible to tell. This time of year, though, when it comes time to spawn, the males and the females look very similar, but the females have a big, fat belly. Really, really big, distended belly. And they have that because that's where all the eggs are. They have a huge belly full of eggs. Of course, it's not actually in their belly, but you know what I mean. And that allows us to kind of tell. So there's a probably big, oh, well, she missed it. But as you're watching these fish out here, you'll see that some of them have those big, large, fat bellies, and those we can tell are females.
Okay, and we have a question from Brenda's class there at Cayman Prep, and the question is, have you seen other sharks besides nurse sharks when you've been studying the groupers?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Tom?
Yes, Miss Bryce's class at Cayman Prep is wondering, have you seen any other sharks besides nurse sharks while you've been studying groupers?
Yes, we have seen other sharks. It's not uncommon at all to see reef sharks out here. Caribbean reef sharks. They actually come out here because, of course, you get this many yummy, tasty fish in a large area, and of course the sharks will be there because they're trying to get a bite of grouper. And so we'll often see those Caribbean reef sharks out here, especially at night when they're spawning, and the fish or the females are releasing their eggs. The sharks will try and grab onto the female as she's releasing her eggs. And we've seen shark attacks happen a lot. And some of the fish that we see out here, in the morning they'll have big gaping holes in them for where a shark bit them. So yeah, it can be pretty dangerous to be a grouper out here.
How about rules class? Do you guys have a question for Bryce? You can unmute your microphone and ask me to do that. All right. Well, we will wait on that. Let's try. We have a class in Seattle, and we're wondering if you guys have a question that you would like to ask Bryce. Okay, it looks like there's still class. How about Spot Bay? We'd like to hear a question from Spot Bay.
I was going to try and get Christy's attention here. Kind of a challenge. Let's see here.
Spot Bay, do you guys have a question you'd like to ask Bryce underwater? Okay, so the question from Spot Bay is, any idea of the number of eggs?
Any idea of the what?
The number of eggs.
Hundreds of thousands per individual, up to millions per individual. all of the fish that are here, in the billions, man. And when it comes time to spawn in the evening, this is just Christy showing you a friendly grouper here. When it comes time to spawn in the evening, so many eggs get released that the visibility out here can drop to nearly zero. It's just a cloud of eggs you can't even see through. Alright. Hey Todd, we're gonna go ahead and start coming up now. On the surface, okay?
Sounds good.
Alright, buddy. Alright, guys, we'll see you up there.
Yes, go ahead and unmute, Paul.
Okay.
Switch the camera.
Does it hurt when you tag them?
Hey, Todd?
Just 1 second.
I'm gonna go ahead and have you guys pull up the cable now. Make sure before you do to please disconnect the audio cable from the box.
Alright, just 1 moment. We're undoing the audio. All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Just 1 second. All right. So, Paul, your class, I can tell from looking at it, is still muted. Is there a way for you to unmute your camera? Okay, there you go. You guys are now unmuted. Do you want to ask your question? Come on, speak up. You can do it.
Does it hurt them when you when you prick them with the tag thing?
That's a good question. The question for everyone else out there was, does it hurt when we tag the fish? And they haven't told us whether or not it hurts. But from what we know, it only stays in there for about a year, and then as their skin heals, it just pops right out. So it doesn't cause any sort of lasting damage to the fish. That's an excellent question. Can we get another question, perhaps from Spot Bay or over at Cayman Prep or even in Seattle? Yeah. I also see Rules class. How about Michaela's class there? Hello there in Seattle. You guys have a question for us you'd like to ask? You're still muted though, Michaela.
Great. Hey, Todd.
Perfect. Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
It's going great.
So I don't know that we have a question yet. Any of you guys have a question about the spawning aggregation? What? What
is the cause of heart population?
Oh, so we've been talking a lot about food webs, and so one of the questions is, well, what consumes the grouper on the reef? So if it's a top-level predator, what consumes them?
Okay, so the question was, if the grouper is a top-level predator, what could possibly be eating the grouper? And I'm going to actually throw that out to you guys. Is there another classroom that thinks they could answer that question? Okay, so I see Spot Bay has just suggested that that reef sharks would probably eat them, and that is true. We've seen several large bites that have been taken out of the backs of grouper, and they've actually survived. But oftentimes we'll see sharks surrounding the aggregation site while they're out there because it's an easy meal. So certainly sharks would be a predator of the grouper, and also humans would be the primary predator for the grouper. Okay, so now we're going to go over to Paul on Grand, and you guys can unmute when you're ready and ask a question. Okay, who's got the question?
How many different types of grouper are there?
Oh, wonderful question. How many different types of grouper are there? Hey, James,
I'm going to get a scientist over here to answer that question. How many different types of grouper are there?
Oh gosh, there's throughout the world. There's many.
So many different types of grouper.
Yeah.
And about how many do we have here in the Caribbean? What do you guys normally see?
We got the yellow grouper, we got the gag grouper, we got the...
So the yellow grouper, the Goliath grouper. Sorry about that, we're back on. So tiger grouper, Nassau, black, Goliath.
The biggest.
The Goliath is the biggest. How big does that get?
That can get up to between 400 and 800 pounds, I think, right?
800 pounds.
And then the next one down is the black grouper, I think is the next biggest.
Wonderful question. Okay, now we're going to go over to Cayman Prep. Mrs. Bryce's class has a question. Hello there, you guys.
Say hi. Okay.
Hi.
Jolie, quick, ask your question, big voice.
What other food does the grouper eat other than crab?
Okay, what other food does the grouper eat other than crab? Did you guys notice how big that grouper's mouth was there at the beginning of the dive? Did you see it open real wide?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they can eat just about anything that they can get their mouth around. So they'll eat all kinds of other fish, shellfish, crustaceans. But they're a top predator, so they can eat pretty much anything they can get their mouths around.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, to add to that, one of the scientists here, James from the DOE, said that they just got footage of a grouper eating a lionfish on its own, unprovoked. So that's pretty exciting. All right, do we have another class that's got a question? Perhaps Spot Bay? Or Paul, or Rule?
Yes, we have a question.
What are the predators of the eggs?
What are the predators of the eggs? Okay, well that's a good question. What's the biggest killer of those eggs out there? Is it conditions?
I think conditions and natural mortality of the eggs.
Yeah. So each one of those females will release hundreds of thousands of eggs, and only a couple of them will actually survive. And most of that has to do with the conditions out there in the ocean not being ideal for them all to survive. But I don't think that there are fish that are out there specifically to eat the eggs.
Thank you.
They'll be very small, and then they're other fish.
Right. So what happens with the eggs is once they're released, they drift around out there for about 48 hours, and then they start to come inland, and they turn into sort of smaller little babies. And once they get to be that size, just about anything can eat them. So they have to hightail it into the shallows and find a hiding place, usually among the turtle grass. All right, let's see who else has a question. Very good question, Spot Bay. Seattle, do you have a question? I see a hand up in Seattle at the center school. Hello, you guys. Your microphone is still muted, though. Okay, while we're waiting, let's go over to Paul's class. I see a hand up. If you guys can unmute your microphone, you can ask a question. All right.
What age does the groupers die?
What age do the groupers die? That's an excellent question. Grouper are a pretty long-lived species. I think they can live to be up to 30 years old. They can live quite a long time. Excellent question. Spot Bay, did you have another question? I saw you guys unmute. Hi there.
Yes, we have another question. Go.
What temperatures do the Nassau groupers like?
Can you say that one more time?
What kind of temperature do the Nassau groupers like?
Ah, excellent question. What temperature do the Nassau groupers like? Well, they like the temperature of the water here in the Caribbean, which I believe today is about 81 degrees, which is actually a little bit warmer than it typically is at this time of year. So I'd say, what, between 75 and 82? The temperature that the Nassau grouper prefer.
Yeah, tropical. Anywhere in the upper 70s.
So upper 70s and lower 80s would be their ideal temperature. All right. How about Carol's class over there at Cayman Prep? Is that Cayman Prep there? Do you guys have a question you would like to ask? All right, looks like we've just lost them. Oh, there they are. Anyone at Carol's class like to ask a question about the Grouper Moon project or what you saw today? You will need to unmute your microphone if you have a question. All right, while we wait for them, we can take a question from another classroom. If you just let me know on the side chat if you've got a question. I see someone in Paul's class has got their hand up. Do you guys have another question there? Yeah? You'll need to unmute your mic.
I'm sure we can chat about our email.
Where's Bryce?
Not sure we've got one at the moment.
Say that again?
Not sure we've got one at the moment. Unless
okay, no problem. No problem. We'll come back to you. How about Spot Bay? Do we have another question over there? All right. Well, while you guys are thinking of a question, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow. Oh, I see Spot Bay does have another question, and the question is, how long does it take for the eggs to hatch? Hey, James, how long does it take the eggs to hatch?
I think it's a matter of hours to a day or so, and then once they hatch, they drift
So it takes
40 days.
So it takes about a day to 2 days for the eggs to hatch, and then they drift for about a month before they start heading back inshore to find a place to settle. Now I'm going to hand this mic over to Bryce as soon as he cleans his ears out there. Okay, and he's gonna talk to you guys. So hold on 1 second. Okay, I'm leaking water. If you come up, I can put them in here. All right.
All right. All right. Can you guys hear me?
There we go. They can hear you. Try again.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm back up. So I've taken off my mask, as you can see, and just finished up our dive. We had a really good dive. Lots of current down there, so it was really hard to talk to you guys while showing you the fish and keep the camera steady. So I apologize about that, but hopefully you got to see some nice video of all the fish that are down there and get to see their different colors and see the big females with their fat bellies and some cleaning stations, so those sorts of things. So if anybody has any other questions about what you saw down there, I'd love to help talk about that with you guys.
I think that we're just about done. So if you just want to kind of say goodbye, and I'm going to wrap up.
Great. Okay. Well, it sounds like we've got all of our questions. Go ahead.
We have a question at Spot Bay.
Yes, please.
Do you the other spawning sites are ever going to have groupers again? Not the one you're at right now.
Right. Great question. Yeah. So do I think that the other spawning sites in the Cayman Islands and in fact anywhere in the Caribbean are ever going to have grouper again? Right. And I do. I really think that they're going to recover. I think the Cayman Islands has one of the great things about the Caymans, but not just the spawning aggregation right here that you just saw, but also over on Cayman Brac, there's some pretty good evidence now that we've generated to suggest that the populations of Nassau grouper are capable of recovering. They're showing that they can recover, but part of the reason why the Caymans have been able to demonstrate that the populations can recover and get healthy again has to do with the fact that the Cayman Islands has put the effort and the legislation in place in order to protect those spawning sites when it comes time to reproduce. So if you protect those areas and allow them to recover, allow them to reproduce, we can see those populations respond and grow again. And that's important. It's not only important to us as divers that like to see them, but there's important to us as people who like to have a nice piece of fish on our plate. And so if we hope to have fish for divers to see, and we hope to have fish for fishermen to catch into the future, it's important that we protect them when they're reproducing. Yeah, okay. So it sounds like you guys are wrapping up.
Yep.
So I'm going to give the comm back to Todd.
Does Spot Bay have another?
Just a quick question. The fish that are currently at that spawning site, are they all from that area, or they are from other parts of it?
Yeah. So the The question is whether or not the fish that are here, are they all from the island of Little Cayman, or are they from anywhere else?
Yes.
And you know, that's a really important question, one that when we started this project, we didn't have the answers to. But now, based on all the tagging work that we've done, and we both tagged them with visual markers, but we've also tagged them with little acoustic pingers, or little tags that allow us, electronic tags that allow us to track where the fish move. And it's pretty clear, based on all of that work, that the fish we're seeing here are only from the island of Little Cayman and nowhere else. None of the fish that we've tagged over the last 7 to 8 years have made any movements between islands. So all of the fish that are at this spawning site are only from Little Cayman Island. All of the fish on the east end of Cayman Brac, those are only Cayman Brac fish. And so when you see that population of big spawning fish out there that we just saw, those fish are all of the reproductive age fish on the island of Little Cayman. And that's the other cool thing about the tagging, is we're able to tell that every single big reproductive age fish is going to this spawning site at this time of year. So the entire population is at this site. And so if you allow fishing to take place, or if you're fishing out that grouper hole, you're not just removing those fish from that hole, you're removing all of the adult fish from your entire island. So it's a really, really sensitive time for those fish. Okay, I'm glad you guys could join us. I'm glad it all worked out. We were able to take you down and show you some fish, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you again in the next couple of days. Tomorrow. Okay, great.
Thanks much. Have a good day.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. It was wonderful to see you today. Tomorrow we are going to have another live hangout where we're going to share with you some footage of the groupers actually spawning, which is going to happen tonight. And then and you're going to get to talk to a bunch of scientists, and they're going to share with you some of the high-tech scientific tools that they use to study and help protect these endangered fish. All right, so you guys have a great afternoon, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Right.